Rutgers 1-0 will get its first big test of the season as they take on the Washington State Cougars at High Point Solutions Stadium this Saturday. I'm Fatoumata Diallo, joined by Tom Luicci. We'll be here every Thursday to preview this week's upcoming game. Now, Tom, Chris Laviano will get his first career start under center. Last week, he came out on fire, completing 4 out of 4 passes, including 3 touchdown strikes to Leonte Carew. What can we expect from this Laviano-led offense this week?
Well, I think everything and anything. What he brings is experience and a full grasp of the offensive playbook because he played last year and he's played this year. But I thought it was very interesting this week in practice that what comment that Coach Kyle Flood had to say about Chris Laviano and the offense. He talked about this offense having as much available to them as last year's offense with Chris Laviano and maybe more. So that's kind of intriguing to me that they may actually, have a little bit more diversity to their offense, a few things we haven't seen. And that may also be a reflection of a new offensive coordinator in Ben McDaniels. But what I think Chris brings is the obvious stuff, having played last year, the experience again this year. The one thing Hayden Reddick didn't have, which was to his credit to come out the way he did and perform the way he did, was he had been running scout team for the previous 2 years. He only had the spring and this summer to run the Rutgers offense, but Chris has had much more exposure to the offense and has much more familiarity with it. And so, again, I'm interested to see when Kyle Flood says that there's more in the offense this year than there was last year, what that means.
Right. And Washington State, known as a pass-happy offense with a proven aerial attack, the Scarlet Knights, led by a young secondary with 5 defensive backs making their collegiate debut last Saturday. What do the Scarlet Knights defense have to do this weekend to stop this air raid attack?
Well, one of the most important things in a game like this is to tackle well, because Washington State tries to get their players in space and they try to get them one-on-one, and you have to tackle them. If you don't, it usually extends the play for much more than you want it to defensively. But I'm very interested to see if Washington State continues with what they did last week, which was to run the ball 30 times. Now, we don't know if that's Mike Leach's attempt to strike it more balance on the offense. That's the most rushing attempts they've had since 2012. Is that it? Was it the rainy conditions? Or is it kind of a setup for this week where he's going to throw the ball 70 times because he knows Rutgers has a young secondary? Those are some of the questions we don't know coming in. But I think the secondary, what we saw, especially the young freshman corners, they got better as the game went on. I mean, we saw them settle down. We saw them make plays in the second half, gave up no points. So that's the kind of progress you want to see when you have young players out there for the first time.
And last year, the Scarlet Knights went to Seattle. It was a shootout. They came back with a 41-38 victory. Can we expect much of the same result this year?
I think so. And one of the huge advantages Rutgers has, and it played a role last year, was special teams. Rutgers came up with a big special teams play that resulted in the game-winning touchdown. And this year, we saw glimpses of it again. Kyle Federico makes 9 extra points. Janarian Grant returns a kickoff 80 yards for a touchdown. Solid punting. Kickoffs were great. Rutgers has a huge advantage, I think, over most opponents in special teams. And that will be contrasted by Washington State. I think they debuted 3 new specialists. The punter, I believe, their punt returner, and their kick returner. So that's a huge advantage for Rutgers going into this. So I think special teams could play a significant role again, as it did last year when it helped decide the game at the end.
All right, thank you so much for joining me today, Tom. That game will kick off at 3:30 p.m. Eastern at High Point Solutions Stadium. You can catch the game also on ESPNU. Reporting from the Rutgers practice facility alongside Tom Luicci, I'm Fatoumata Diallo.